an expert of various documentary film funds. And today is also Professor Gintautas Mažeikis. So, Professor Gintautas, maybe you would like to ask the first question.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Dorota, for participation in our podcast. And I know that this category, documentary film, is too narrow for a description of your artwork. And I would, my first question, could you try to characterize what kind of art are you doing? What is that these films are?
Thank you for this very profound question, which I never asked myself, but it would be good to find an answer on it, because it is being asked by several institutions. Whenever I start a new project, the film industry, through its funds or TV channels, TV slots, is asking, what category of film is it? Because this is how the film industry works. There are fiction films, series, there are crime stories, there are comedies, and there are documentary films, and this is how this huge film industry works. Of course, there is also a certain margin for the new proposals, for the films that are looking for the new language, for the new means of expression. And I would say that this is very close to me in the films that I produce, to look for the new visual, new or attractive, interesting, artistic visual means, and the ways of telling the story, which is not petrified yet, right? If you are working for the big channels, like or these times these are VOD platforms, they need to repeat the product that have had a success, right? So one film should be, optimal case, the sequel of the previous one that has had a success. And this leads to such a situation that films are they are resembling each other. They are a certain industrial product, good and fantastic, but from the artistic point of view, they are repetitive. This is not my way. My way is bumpy and very individual, looking for the artists, looking for the subjects also that are bringing, that are innovative. And as I said already, this is not only me who is looking for innovative way of expression in the film industry. There are many people like myself, and there are also festivals and places where there is a category of innovative films, films that cross the borders, films that that are on the edge, and this is this category that is close to me.
Yeah, I agree about this, that your films are on the edge. For example, Mill and Cross or A Habit and Armor. However, I watched these films, and my second question is about, because you touches history, historical topics, but very specifically and individually, I would say, from some even critical, even feministic point of view. But my question is, this about, why do you choose these periods or other periods, how different periods attract you? How do you choose your topic?
It varies per film. Sometimes a director comes to me with a subject, or the script writer. Sometimes I find a subject. It is really very differently. I can tell you that concerning Habit and Armor, it was the director who came to me with this subject, and I thought, yeah, this would be good to make such a film in co-production with Lithuania and Germany, the three opponents of the Middle Ages at the Grunwald battle. Żargirio Musis.
Yes.
Yes.
How do you say in Polish?
Grunwald. Bitwa pod Grunwaldem. But in Germany they call it Tannenberg battle, because now the Crusaders were located at the village of Tannenberg, and the Polish-Lithuanian forces, they were in the forest, not baking in the hot sun of July 1410, and it was Żargirio Musis. So
thank you. That's again quite strange, because Lithuanians actually very like this topic and try to discuss with Poles or Belarusians, and interpret it differently. However, it's very mythological time. I would say it, our countries try to build this mythology based on beginning on 15th century, but not on the 18th century, which is dark and unclear. And this is, do you and your script writers would like to continue this mythological topic, or would you like to touch more problematic questions?
I'm doing both, and I will give you two examples. I liked, now I continued the subject of Middle Ages in the film made next year, which is called The Last Pagans of Europe. And it was the Latvian team who approached me after Habit and Armor. And they had an idea to make a film what was going on these territories, the southeast shore of Baltic Sea, before the Crusaders, before the 13th century. And at that time, these were the Baltic tribes that have been living there. And they have been colonized and baptized by the Teutonic order starting from the 13th century. So this film is called The Last Pagans of Europe. It was made by the brothers Abele from Latvia. There are three brothers, three. Sometimes I thought there were 5 or 6 because they appeared once. It was 1, then 2, then 3, but wonderful artists, visual artists.
I've seen that film in Kaunas, and I did not know that you were involved. And when the movie ended in the cinema, I watched it. When the movie ended, I looked at the subtitles of the names, and I saw your name, and I said to my wife, "Look, I know that person."
I was the Polish co-producer, and they approached me, as I said, after Habit and Armor, and also because it was, from the industrial point of view, very natural to seek for the co-production in Poland, because it concerned the territory which is actually in Poland. It is southeast Poland, so-called region of Warmia and Mazury. And yes, indeed, I got support from Polish Film Institute and the Regional Film Fund of Warmia and Mazury. And we have accomplished this film just when the pandemic started. which had a very bad influence on the distribution of the film. And yeah, so this is because we planned a big premiere in Olsztyn with the Latvian artists, but it was too dangerous during this pandemic time to organize it. But what is interesting in this film, it is also touching a certain myth, myth of the beginnings of Latvian nation in this case. By the way, it was realized in the program of 100 years of independence of modern Latvia. So the government gave some extra money for film productions, and this is how it was possible. But the film is in the category documentary, but there is no a documentary shot in the film. Everything is recreated with historical reconstructors, with very interesting visual style, which I liked very much. And there is a voiceover, the commentary of the hero, the traveler of 12th century, called Lars, completely invented, and also the objective narrator. But the fact that this category is so strange was also a big minus in distribution, because artistic festivals thought it was too educative and too historical. Historical festivals thought it was, I don't remember what, but just to say how difficult it is to make something which doesn't fit in the category. But it was screened at Polish television, and in Latvia, I think it is the most watched film ever, because all the schools went to see this film. Yeah.
May I ask you, what is the documentary film today, contemporary, our issues, how are they reflected? What I'm having in mind is this war in Ukraine and the role of Poland for helping, humanitarian help, and the political voice is so loud that awareness is raised that Ukraine is defending our European values and our freedom. And perhaps something in documentary film is reflected, or any of this geopolitical role or humanitarian help, our social changes because of the war.
How many hours we have ahead of us to discuss this?
Endless.
So I would answer this question and continue the previous question about making films on certain historical myths. It happened that I'm now finishing the production on a certain very fragile subject, which because of the war has become even more fragile, which is the Volhynia massacre of 1943. I started this film before anybody could imagine that the war would come. And because I read a book of Witold Szabłowski, Polish literary reporter, called, how is it in English? In Polish, the title is Sprawiedliwi Zdrajcy. It is about the righteous traitors, and it was about Ukrainians who have been helping the Poles during the massacre through the small actions like knocking the window, giving information, or just opening the door, or not seeing something. So it was the book was about the tiny pieces of good in the hell of evil, let's say. This book was several times awarded in Poland and was very well received. And I think it was a very important voice in the Polish-Ukrainian historical discussion, which has, which is especially difficult as it concerns the year 1943 and the ethnical cleanings in Volhynia. So I'm finishing this film, can you imagine, in this time. I know it will bring a lot of discussions, but I think, first of all, it is very needed. We are already after test screenings and a lot of opinions has been said. And let's say, what is said in these opinions, despite that it is difficult, not everybody agrees that it was like that or in different way, that this subject has to be discussed because during the now, first of all, it is a big trauma which the generations keep how to say it, having, and it is also a taboo subject, especially in Ukraine, and it has been never discussed during the after-war years because the socialist government thought it was taboo then, and when the system changed, it was also too painful to discuss. So, and then it was changing depending on the political situation. And but all the viewers that have seen this film said now, yes, we have to talk about it. At least we have to break the taboo. So this is the film that I'm working on.
Dorota, do you fear that a critic will attack you because of this film with the argument that not in the time, not in the place, the truth which is not in the time and in the place? And I would say that in Lithuania we have a very similar situation. Sergei Loznitsa, Ukrainian producer, came to Lithuania to make a theater spectacle related with the Erini, with the title Erini, where he would like to present between many of other topics, the topic of Holocaust, you know, when Ukrainians together with Germans participated in the killing of Jews during Second World War, you know, in one place. Okay, but the problem, while Loznitsa was attacked, even in Lithuania, because with the argument, probably you say you tell the truth, you know, even in artistic way, the truth. But however, it's not the time and not place for this truth, because the war, you know, and you could serve for the even Russian propaganda purposes. So such kind of accusations were and still are against Sergei Loznitsa in Vilnius. And your topic as well, very, as you said, fragile and, you know, on the edge, political edge. It's very could be attractive for artists, but in this time, what could you answer? Why this film is necessary?
I know the films by Sergei Loznitsa, and I observe him closely since his first film, because I think he's very sensitive to the important points in history that are for our who are very important for our, how do you say it, mutual coexistence. I would call it like that. And this is difficult. I think where to start to explain. So I think he's very brave, first of all. And the other thing is that maybe the Ukrainian society is has now for sure hasn't discussed the dark points of its history, and this is being used now by Russian propaganda. If these points would have been discussed, then it would be easier to avoid them. Maybe, I think. This is what I think. This is, for example, the situation between Poland and Lithuania. We have discussed a very painful subject of Ponary killings and animosity during the Second Lithuanian Republic, but between Lithuania and Poland. And these are difficult and painful subjects, but if you are talking about them, then you are not so vulnerable for the evil use of these examples. And I know that Woźnica is being attacked. He was even deprived the membership by the Ukrainian Film Academy because they found that during the war, at least this is the general explication that I have heard, that during the war there is only black and white and no other points, no other grades in talking about history. But I think at the same time, this is Sergei Woźnica, who is the most known Ukrainian filmmaker and who is making the big, how would I say, who is making a very good and brave picture of Ukrainian cinematography, that he dares to touch these subjects, and the subjects are not Ukrainian; they are completely universal, and we can see that the humankind repeats the same means of making disasters, right? So maybe it's better to show them than to hide them, and. Yeah, and now, last film by Sergei Woźnica was Babi Yar, The Context, the documentary.
Related. These two things are related.
Yes, and a very, very heavy subject. And now he's preparing the fiction based on this fact. And it will be in cooperation with Polish Film Institute. It is co-financed by Polish Film Institute. What can I say? I haven't, coming back to my film, I haven't been planning to make it during the war. And and when the war started, we have stopped the production because, yeah, how to continue on such a subject. But now I am more optimistic, let's say, because the war has made several irrevocable changes between Polish and Ukrainian people, I think. And also the discussion around the subject of this genocide, like Volhynia massacre, has changed. Is changing, let's say. Is changing, like step by step. And how is it changing? For example, the President Zelensky has allowed the excavations of the victims of the massacre, which Polish side wanted since many years. It is something like when my crew was making shooting in Volhynia for the film, and on some cemetery, they had such a comment, "Oh, it is like Bucha." Yes, a certain new understanding of why the Poles are fighting for these dead bodies, not buried properly 80 years ago, why it is, they understood at that moment, right? That this is like Bucha, that they want to, that it is normal for the people, for the next generation, for the people to bury their relatives. Also the fact, the actions like making some orders at Polish cemeteries in Volhynia take place. So there are these several good signs, and also, oh, maybe not to talk too long about it. So there is a positive side of this wartime for this subject, and as I see the comments on our screenings from Polish and Lithuanian and Ukrainian side, it brings relief, which is, or it can't, not for everybody maybe, but it can bring relief. I only will say that this is not a historical film at all. It is a contemporary film, very personal, about a girl who is visiting the places where her ancestors lived. And we have shot this film mainly in 2029, so just before the war. So.
May I ask you, what is the perception in Poland? What do people also talk in the cafes, not only what media portrays, about Germany's hesitation, so visible hesitation to help Ukraine and to be the voice? We see that Germany is struggling with its past, is so afraid of being involved, and just a few days ago, we had a similar podcast with Anna Maria Midlarska, and to that question, she said, "Look, Thomas, but when Solidarność in 1980s tried to gain its role, Germany also was the last country to help. Great Britain was helping Norway, the United States was helping anonymously Solidarność, but Germany was so in delay, and now again it's the same. What is your perception about it? Do you see in a similar way? What do people talk in cafes, not just media?
What the people talk about in cafes or in I was thinking about this question, and I would say in general the filmmakers, documentary filmmakers, they are not talking about politics, or they don't take it seriously, and they are also not touching the current issues with the films. I will tell later maybe why. But concerning the Germany, I think the general feeling is that the Germans want to show they are so good, that they are so polite, civilized, and so and peaceful, and that the government had to struggle with this general opinion in Germany. and yeah, of course, this is a result of post-war changes. And what in cafes, the Polish people are laughing at such attitude, I would say, because what else can we do? More strongly, I would say the people criticized the German, I would say, how to call it, mercantilism, or will to get wealthy with making business with Russia. I mean the Nord Stream 2, which was criticized. Everybody understands in Poland that once Russia and Germany make business, it is not good for the countries in between. And it was obvious for everybody. And me, myself, I talked with my German co-producers about it. How is it possible that you are doing it? And, yeah, this is this.
About your Poland identity. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you, Dorota.
I was almost finished.
Yeah. Then the question is, you mentioned about your film about Volhynia massacre, and then I remember about related question with Germany. We Poland and Lithuania have a neighbor, Kaliningrad district, you know, with a very dark memory of massacre 1945. As was completely not just genocide, but 100% cleaning of territory from all previous inhabitants. And thousands of children, so-called wolf kinder, ran to Lithuania, probably into Poland, in order to escape from this, all terrible events. And we had this memory about wolf kinders in Lithuania. And it was wonderful when we met Germans, many of, and start to speak with them about wolf kinders and this 1945. It was wonderful. They don't like to remember and even don't like to speak about this. For us, for Lithuanians, it was like a trauma, because how could people don't speak about, this, tomes about everything what happened? Why this completely traumatic banning or taboo, as you said? And my question is, do you see relationship between so-called pause of friendship and peacefulness in Germany and this traumatic attempts to escape from such kind of topics like 1945 Königsberg? Do you see?
Sure. I think it is a part. I would risk a thesis that it belongs to the myth or state of well-being. Everything is fine. Everything we do well, and we also need the clean. How to say it? Clean.
Welfare consciousness, to have welfare
Consciousness. Yes. And that's I think it goes together. It is a certain comfortable position, and touching such subjects, the one in Kaliningrad that you mentioned, or Volhynia massacre. No, this doesn't. It brings uncomfortable subject, and yes, I think, however, that there are also several lines of discussion between the nations, and some are painful, some are very friendly. And I think this is the situation between Poland and Germany. There is a lot of very, very positive, friendly cooperation, and there are also some difficult points. And also, especially concerning history, although they are much better discussed than any difficult subjects with Ukrainians, maybe not. They are discussed since many, many years. But now there is also a moment where the politics plays a very important role, because Poland is having elections for the parliament next year, and they go for the parliament and for the local self-government. So it is a very huge election moment, and the ruling party now is afraid that they will lose. So they are using all means to mobilize some strange subjects, including the animosity of Poles toward Germany, to have more votes. And we have very strange discussions these days, only for the purpose of influencing the elections of the next year, in 2023.
Thank you very much for your insights. And we covered politics, we covered documentary art genres and its relation to history. I would like to thank you for your insights and to remind our dear viewers that this is our program called Freely and